So good morning everyone. So from today onward, a new section will be going, and the section would be chemotherapy. So this usually is the last section of pharmacology, and there are around 14 to 15 chapter which comes under chemotherapy, and being one of the important section which is a part of second paper, you need to concentrate. A big chunk, a major chunk of question comes from the chemotherapy section. All sort of question can be expected, including the assay type, the pharmacological basis, and then the short answer type question. So today's class would be on general principle of antimicrobial agents, or general principle of chemotherapeutic agents. You must be kept listening about the resistance and injudicious use of antimicrobial agents. So what do you mean by injudicious use of antimicrobial agent? See, there is like lots of infection, the minor infection, the major infection, the fungal infection, the bacterial infection, the viral infection, so on. It can be mild, it can be moderate, it can be severe type. But for any kind of infection, when a person gets, he straightforward jump for an antimicrobial agent or an antibiotic, use of antibiotic. This is a very usual trend among the doctors also, to write the straightforward the antimicrobial agent. And they do not start from the lower level. From the higher level only the antimicrobial agents start. You must have marked that among children also the higher level of antibiotics is started. So because of this phenomena and because of the expectations of the patient from the doctor, that doctor will write some miracle drug and an antibiotic, strong antibiotic, so that the person gets fine easily and then prompt, and then gets back to work as fast as possible. These all created a resistance of microbes towards the antimicrobial agents, and this becoming dangerous day by day. When the resistance occurs among microbes towards antimicrobial agents, then it would be very difficult to treat the conditions, the infections later on. And there are hardly any new drug which is coming and which is coming under the section of antimicrobial agents. So we need to, or doctor need to use it very judiciously, case to case. So this is what happens when a doctor writes a prescription with injudicious antimicrobial agent and then given to microbe. The microbes initially gets killed, but then slowly it gets used to the antimicrobial agents, and then it becomes resistant. Then the burden goes lies to the pharmaceutical company to come up with a new drug. Then the year of research goes on to find a new drug. Some new drug or a minor modification in the chemical structure of the existing drug leads to a new compound. Then it goes into the market, and then again the doctor prescribes, and then it goes to the microbes. Then for a few years it helps to suppress it, but then again resistance develops. So this is the constant process, and this is where the problem lies. So antibiotic, whenever prescribed, should be justified enough for its use. So for today's topic, the learning objective would be to know the difference in the terminologies which are used on day-to-day basis, related to antimicrobial agents. Then what are the different types of classification under which different group of drug can be classified? That classification can be of many types. It can be based on the mechanism of action. It can be based on the type of action. It can be based on the plasma half-life and so on. We should be knowing about resistance after we complete this course class. Then the common problems associated with antimicrobial agent, the individual and specific problem the concerned teacher will be discussing in the concerned classes. And then also we will see where we should be using antimicrobial agent and up to what extent. So the very first terminology is chemotherapy. What do we mean by chemotherapy? Hope you all know this because this was discussed long back when we started pharmacology, and then again in the end of the pharmacology we are discussing the same thing, chemotherapy. Chemotherapy is the treatment, or it's a pattern of it's a way of therapy using chemical ingredient or chemical substance, and that is known as chemotherapy, made up of two words. Therapy with chemical agents is known as chemotherapy. And the agent which is used in this process are known as chemotherapeutic agents. Chemotherapeutic agent, the agent used for the therapy of a disease which is chemical nature, that is known as chemotherapeutic agent. Then comes antimicrobial agents. Antimicrobial agent, as per se, is a broad term which include the use of antibacterial agent and antibiotic agent. Often people use antibacterial, or most of the time antibacterial antibiotic they use as synonymously, or interchangeably they use antibacterial and antibiotics, which is not correct. The antibiotic word relates to the substance which is obtained from the bacteria itself, microorganism itself, and then used against the other bacteria. Whereas antibacterial agents are those agents which can be semi-synthetic and synthetic in origin, and the source can be other than the bacteria. Those are known as antibacterial agents. So this is the gross difference between antibacterial and antibiotic, and combinedly they are known as antimicrobial agents. Now the one way of classifying antimicrobial agent is based on the mechanism of action. Now there are different drugs which acts through different mechanism of action. So on the basis of that, drugs are classified. The first mechanism is inhibition of cell wall synthesis. The examples being penicillin, cephalosporins, and vancomycin. Here, if you'll see, this will be dealt again in a broader way. Full explanation would be there in the penicillin or beta-lactam chapter. Just briefly, I'll say these group of drugs inhibit the formation of cell wall of the bacteria. So weak cell wall is produced, because of which the bacteria dies. And those can be done, and this process can be done by penicillin, cephalosporin, and vancomycin. There are many other drugs. I've just kept three most important drugs over here. So these drugs inhibit cell wall synthesis. Now this is done by inhibiting the transpeptidase enzyme. Transpeptidase enzyme, they usually bring about the phenomena which is transpeptidation. With the help of transpeptidation, there is a cross-linking occurs in the among the peptides, and then a strong bond is formed, and then a strong cell wall is formed. So that is inhibited, because of which there is weak cell wall formation happens, and then the bacteria dies. Then the next mechanism is inhibition of protein synthesis, inhibition of protein synthesis. As the name suggests, protein synthesis is a major part for the survival of the bacteria and for its function. So, when the proper synthesis, protein synthesis will not occur, then the bacteria may die. Usually, there is involvement of 30S and 50S ribosomal subunit in bacteria which are affected, whereas mammalian cell contains 40S and 60S. And the drugs are not targeted against 60S and 40S. And thus, mammalian cells are spared and the bacterial cells are the target. So tetracycline, chloramphenicol, erythromycin, clindamycin, they act through this process, inhibition of protein synthesis. Then the next is cell membrane leakage. The drug like polymyxin, the colistin, the amphotericin B, this is amphotericin B, nystatin, these are the drugs which causes the leakage of the cell membrane so that the interior composition or component of the bacteria is leaked out. The major electrolytes like calcium, magnesium, chloride, they comes out and then the microorganisms dies. So like amphotericin B and many other antifungal drugs, they form a pore or the channel through which there is leakage of membranous component outside. The another is inhibition of DNA gyrase. The example is ciprofloxacin. The quinolone group, this comes under quinolone group. So quinolone group of drug acts through inhibition of DNA gyrase. Now, what is the function of DNA gyrase enzyme? There are two types, the topoisomerase 2 and the topoisomerase 4. It depends what type of bacteria, gram-positive or gram-negative bacteria are. So, the corresponding topoisomerase is present in the respective bacteria, can be negative or positive. So that this DNA gyrase helps in the negative supercoiling. So positive supercoiling and negative supercoiling, these are the two terms. It will be dealt in detail in the respective chapter. So the negative supercoiling is important in which nicking and resealing is done. If nicking and resealing is not done, then there will be tangling of the DNA sequence and then the improper functioning and the protein synthesis will occur. So this group of drug will cause the inhibition of DNA gyrase. It causes the positive supercoiling. Then we have interference with the nucleic acid metabolism. The example is rifampicin, which acts through DNA-dependent RNA polymerase. Then there is interference with DNA synthesis, like antiviral drug acyclovir and zidovudines are the examples. Then there are drugs which may inhibit the intermediary metabolism, like sulfonamide, trimethoprim. If we'll see, this is trimethoprim or para-amino-salicylic acid base. So this group of drugs, they inhibit the enzymes which are involved in the sequential pathway of utilizing PABA or conversion of PABA to para-aminobenzoic acid to folic acid. So incorporation of folic acid is inhibited by inhibiting the enzymes involved in the conversion of one type of folic acid to another type. So this is the figure representation of various way of classifying as per mechanism of action. So we have a cell, the cell synthesis inhibitors. These the group of drug, they inhibit the cell wall synthesis. The next is DNA gyrase inhibitor. As I told, DNA gyrase inhibitor, the quinolone, they inhibit the enzyme DNA gyrase, which causes positive supercoiling. Then inhibition of DNA-dependent RNA polymerase. So mRNA would be affected. DNA-dependent RNA polymerase. Rifampicin is the drug which acts with this. Then RNA synthesis inhibitor. There is ansamycins. Then we have the protein synthesis inhibitor. As I told, there is involvement of 50S and 30S ribosomal subunit in bacteria, which helps in the formation of respective protein. So that is inhibited. And then folate synthesis sulfonamide, as I told over here only, that these drugs inhibit the intermediary metabolism, the conversion of PABA, tradition of PABA to dihydrofolic acid and dihydrofolic acid to tetrahydrofolic acid. There is involvement of few enzymes which are inhibited through sulfonamide and trimethylamine. Now, steps in bacterial synthesis. Here, last slide I told classification based on the mechanism of action, and then this figure shows the overall list of drugs which acts to different mechanisms. In this particular slide, I'll just briefly discuss what are the steps through which there is bacterial protein synthesis occurs. As I told, there is involvement of 30S and 50S ribosomal subunit for the synthesis of protein in bacteria. So there is 30S subunits, the codon and anticodon you must be knowing. So there is a codon and anticodon over here at A site and then B site. The A site is acceptor site, whereas B site is peptidase site. A site and B site. So this usually is A site and this is B site. Okay. So there is 30S ribosome which gets attached to this messenger RNA, and then after that 50S ribosome will come and then attaches with 30S ribosome. And from here, the process starts, and that's where we call it initiation. Initiation when there is attachment of 30S and 50S with the respective codon, then there is initiation of protein synthesis. Then there is a tRNA with attached amino acid. tRNA with attached amino acid. This comes and binds to the acceptor site. This is backend. This comes in the and attaches to the bacteria side. Let's assume at P side there is already one RNA tRNA where there are 4 amino acids. Okay. So this tRNA will come along with this amino acid and binds to acceptor site. Now next what happens? There is transportation. That is, these amino acid shift from P site and comes to A site on this A5. See, okay. So this is known as elongation. This adding of tRNA to acceptor site, this is known as elongation. Then there is, as I told, there is transfer of A1 to A4 and it gets attached to tRNA containing A5. Now elongation occurs, okay, and then there is transfer of peptide. So this process is known as this transferase and translocation. Then the elongated amino acids with this tRNA gets transferred to the P site. See, earlier it was here, then it is translocated to here. So this is known as translocation. So this way there is elongation and then there is formation of specific mRNA and specific protein. So usually these antibacterial drugs can inhibit 30S or 50S ribosomal subunit in order to inhibit protein synthesis. Then the classification is also based on action, type of action and action. This is antibacterial action like penicillin and aminoglycosides, antifungal amphotericin B and ketoconazole, antiviral drugs like acyclovir and azidovirine, antiprotozoal. You must have kept listening since last 2 months because of corona. So antiprotozoal drugs like chloroquine and metronidazole, anthelmintic drug like mebendazole and diethylcarbamazine. Then the drugs can also be classified on the basis of type of action. It can be bacteriostatic and bactericidal. Bacteriostatic means it suppresses the bacteria. It do not kill, it suppresses the bacteria. And sulfonamide, tetracycline, erythromycin, chlorphenicol, mostly the drugs which acts through protein synthesis inhibition are bacteriostatic. Bactericidal drug is also there like penicillins, aminoglycosides, rifampicin, ciprofloxacin. Here these drugs kills the bacteria. Again, aminoglycoside is a protein synthesis inhibitor, but that comes under the bactericidal drug. Now coming to the factors which may affect the susceptibility and resistance of microorganisms. Now there should be enough of concentration of the drug at the site of infection so that the effect of the drug is given. At the same time, the concentration should be safe enough. So a safe concentration of a drug should be available at the site of infection to give the result. Then host defense system should be active and intact so that least possible concentration can be given to get the desired effect. In case if there is impaired host defense mechanism, then bacteriostatic drugs are not of choice. Usually bactericidal drugs are given at higher dose level. Local factor also plays an important role. Low pH at the site, high protein concentration may impair the activity of the drug by either destroying or by binding with the drug so that enough of concentration does not reach to the site of action. In the beginning, only enough was said about the injudicious use of antibacterial agent leading to bacterial resistance. So what are the ways through which bacterial resistance can be developed? Bacterial resistance may be developed if the drug does not reach to its target. If the drug goes somewhere where there is no use of reaching, then there will be a resistance. So drug does not reach to its target. It may happen by if the drug is not able to penetrate the cell where the bacteria are. Other way can be that if the drug gets not exchanged, transformed, or converted to its active form, then also resistance may develop. Another way of resistance developing is if the target is altered, the structure of the target, if by mutation or through any other process, if it is altered, if it is changed, then the drug won't be able to go and bind with the target, and then the result cannot be produced. So these are the three specific bacterial resistance. We will discuss it now. If the drug does not reach to its target, how can it happen? If there is absence of or mutation in or loss of favored porine channel. Porine channel means the channel through which if the drug reaches to some site, if there is alteration in that channel or through mutation, or it is not there only, then the drug cannot reach and then resistance can happen. Or if target is intracellular, then the mutation or phenotypic change in transporter may also lead to the drug resistance. If at all drug is able to cross or go through the transporter or channel, porine channel, then there is a possibility that there is involvement of or there is presence of efflux pump inside the bacteria, which pumps the drugs out of it so that it remains alive. The tetracycline, chloramphenicol, macrolide, and beta-lactam antibiotic comes under this group where the bacteria may efflux out these drugs. Then we have drug inactivation, another form. There are enzymes present or may be secreted by the bacteria which causes destruction of the drug or conversion of active to inactive form, and then the resistance develops. Like aminoglycosidase, these are the enzymes produced against aminoglycoside. Beta-lactamases are the enzymes which are produced by bacteria to kill the or to inhibit or to destroy or to inactivate the beta-lactam drugs. The last one was the target alteration, where there is modification in the site where it should be acting, or the target where it should be acting. Example, a ribosomal protection. This is a type of resistance to macrolides and tetracycline. They act through a ribosome mediated action, 30S, 50S. Okay. So if there is alteration in that target ribosomes, then there will be then resistance. Acquisition of resistant form of the native susceptible target like staphylococcal methicillin resistance caused by production of low affinity penicillin binding protein. Now, staphylococcal methicillin, Staphylococcus type of bacteria, they produces a penicillin binding protein, which is a strong target for the beta-lactam drug. But if a low affinity penicillin binding protein is produced where the drug cannot bind or has the less affinity toward this, then the cannot bind and then the result cannot be produced. This particular slide shows the overall type of resistance as we discussed in the previous slides. There can be efflux pump, like the drug, if they can enter inside the bacteria, microbes and all, and then these drugs can be effluxed out through efflux pumps. Those drugs can be fluoroquinolone, aminoglycoside, tetracycline, beta-lactam and macrolides. There, as I told, that there are involvement of enzymes or production of enzymes to the bacteria which can cause the destruction or inactivation of the drug, and this can happen in beta-lactam, aminoglycoside, the macrolides or the rifampicin group of drug. The resistance may also develop if the drug cannot enter. There is some alteration in the pooling channel or the transporter. This may happen through in the beta-lactam, tetracycline, or fluoroquinolone. Then if there is a target modification where it should go and bind, then there is again a resistance. The examples being the fluoroquinolone, rifamycin, vancomycin, beta-lactam, macrolide, aminoglycoside, etc. Now coming to as we discussed resistance and the type of resistance, now we'll move on to transfer of resistance. How the resistance is transferred from one group of bacteria to another, or from one bacteria to another. Now there can be multiple types. It can be through mutation, selection mutation. For streptomycin, the type of resistance occurs through ribosomal mutation, and for quinolone, the transfer of resistance happens through the gene mutation in case of gyrase and topoisomerase 4. For rifampicin, the transfer of resistance occurs through RNA polymerase, DNA-dependent RNA polymerase gene mutation. So again, gene mutation is there in RNA polymerase. This usually does not happen because of the drug exposure. This is a natural or random process for the survival of the bacteria. So whether you give these drugs or not, this usually is not the cause for the repeated drug or drug exposure is not the cause of resistance through mutation. There can be the passage of trade vertically to the daughter cell directly, or can be through horizontal way. When the horizontal transfer of resistance happens from donor cell to another bacterial species, then this is known as horizontal transfer of resistance. And this can be done in transduction, transformation, and conjugation. There are three processes or three ways through which there is horizontal transfer of resistance. The one is transduction, the another is transformation, and the last one is conjugation. I hope you are all aware of these all terminologies and the details there. First is transduction. There is acquisition of bacterial DNA from a phage, which is a virus that propagates in bacteria, and that has incorporated DNA from the previous host bacterium within its outer protein coat. So when there is a phase in the bacteria, and then it acquires the DNA from the bacteria, and then it acquires at the outer protein coat, and then it gets transferred to the other bacteria. The example is Staphylococcus. So this is the transduction. This is the involvement of transfer of DNA from one bacterium to another through bacteriophage. So this is the bacteriophage in the bacteria. So there is transfer of DNA into it, and then it goes and in fact to transfer the resistance to another bacteria, and this is known as transduction. The next is transformation. There is uptake and incorporation into the host genome by homologous recombination of free DNA released into the environment by other bacterial cells. When the free DNA is released in the environment, these are incorporated by other bacterial cells, and this is known as transformation. The example is penicillin resistance in pneumococci and Neisseria. So this is the transformation. When the free DNA is released in the environment, this gets incorporated in another bacteria, and through which there is resistance developed, and that is transformation. There is transfer of resistance developed, and then that is known as transformation. Then next in line we have conjugation. There is transfer of gene by direct cell-to-cell contact through a sex pilus. When there is a cell-to-cell contact of bacteria, there is a formation of sex pilus or bridge in between sex pilus or bridge, and through this sex pilus or bridge, there is transfer of genetic material, resistant genetic material from one bacteria to another bacteria, and thus transfer happens. Multiple resistance gene can be transferred in a single event. Vancomycin resistance in case of enterococci is one example, which is mediated through conjugative plasmid. So there is cell-to-cell contact. This is one cell, this is one cell. Cell-to-cell contact, and there is formation of sex pilus or a bridge, and through this bridge, there is transfer of the resistance gene through one bacteria to another, and this process is known as conjugation. So this is the overall way: transformation, transduction, and conjugation. Transformation, when the resistance DNA material is in the environment, these are incorporated by other bacteria. Transduction, where there is a bacteriophage, a virus present in the bacteria, this takes down the DNA material and then goes on, binds with the another bacteria, and then transfers the resistance. Conjugation, when there is cell-to-cell contact, there is transfer through the sex pilus or bridge from one bacteria to another. So this is reciprocal. Next is factors for selection of antimicrobial agents. What should be the factors which we should consider, which we should take care of when we decide on any antimicrobial? Whether we are using for empirical therapy, whether we are giving for definite therapy, or prophylactic therapy or preventive therapy. So based on the type of treatment you are giving or taking, you need to decide antimicrobial agent. In case of prophylaxis, prevention, and definite therapy or empirical therapy, there are different set of antimicrobials. Then the pharmacokinetic parameter of a drug or antimicrobial agent is very much important, and pharmacokinetic parameter plays a very important role in mostly all the drug when you decide on to which drug should be taken. So pharmacokinetic parameter, if you want a quick action, you have to take a drug which has slower or faster onset of action. And if you want for a prolonged time for a chronic condition and the compliance, for a better compliance, you need to take drug which maintain the plasma concentration and the duration of action is more. Based on that, and based on location of infection, you have to decide which route you will be preferring. So if you want a faster action, the same drug can be given intravenously or through parenteral form to get the faster action. If the infection is locally, then you have to choose among the topical agents like ointment, cream, lotion. Whereas if you want a systemic drug, faster or slower, than the oral and parenteral drugs can be chosen. Then you should be knowing about the MIC of the organism, minimal inhibited concentration, which is a concentration, the minimum concentration of drug at which the organisms are inhibited post 24 hours of incubation, 24 hours of incubation. So that has to be known. Then the pathological condition also, it is one of the important factor which plays a role in selection of antimicrobial agent. If the person is already suffering from some renal disorder or some liver disorder, and the given drug or the chosen drug, if it gets cleared through a renal mechanism, then it is very much chances, there are very much chances that the person may get the renal toxicity and there is a renal failure. So those drugs should not be used in that condition. Obviously, route of drug administration is an important factor to choose among antimicrobial agents, which I have already discussed in the pharmacokinetic part. Then there are factors which affect the drug action. The host defense mechanism, as I told you before also, if there is a strong host defense mechanism, bacteriostatic drug can be given and it may work wonder, otherwise bactericidal drug can be given. If there is any alteration in cellular immune system, that also plays an important role in the drug action. Then the qualitative or quantitative defect in the phagocytic cell that also affect the drug action. Local factor like the pulse, the phagocytes, and the protein, they may affect the factor by inhibiting the action. Then other factors like age. Age is also an important factor for considering what type of antimicrobial drug should be given. When the person is in child group or the geriatric group, where the functioning of liver and kidney is not optimal, then you need to check on the activity or the functioning of the organ system, and then only you need to decide. Genetic factor also plays an important role in the which affect the drug action. So genetic factor, like if there is acetylation or there is an enzyme called acetylase, or if the person is fast acetylator or slow acetylator, then that may affect the drug action. Fast acetylator means those people can metabolize the isoniazid fast. In that case, you need to increase the dose of the drug. Opposite thing happens when the person is slow acetylator. In case of pregnancy, streptomycin in pregnancy should not be given. So next in line is combination, when it should be given. So as we know that there are many drugs which are combined. There is many drug, not only antimicrobial agent, but other group of drug also are combined together. But the combination is not always indicated. There are criteria in which the combination should be prescribed. So for antimicrobial agent, what are the conditions where it should be given? In case of empirical therapy of an infection for which the cause is not known, then in that case you can start with the combination drug, and then later on when the cause is known, when the type of microbes involved in involvement is known, then the definite treatment or definite microbial antimicrobial agent can be given. Then for the treatment of polymicrobial infection, if there is involvement of many microbes or bacteria, then in that case the combination can be given. Also it is given when you want to enhance, when you want to increase the antimicrobial activity there also. Then to prevent the emergence of resistance also, you need to many times give the combination antimicrobial agents. What are the disadvantages of this combination? There is increased risk of toxicity, because the toxicity related to one drug is combined with another drug. So there may be increased risk of toxicity. Then the selection of multiple drug resistance bacteria may appear. Then there may be adverse effect like eradication of normal host flora, which may cause the superinfection. And usually the combination drugs are of increased cost. So that has to be looked upon. What are the problems associated with antimicrobial agents? That means the adverse effect, the adverse effect in general. The specific adverse effect will be dealt in detail in the respective chapters. The first is toxicity, the local toxicity and the systemic toxicity. So the local toxicity like gastric irritation, pain, abscess at injection site. Whereas systematic is maybe dose related like vancomycin, they produces hearing loss or the kidney damage. So increased amount of this drug are usually caused. That's why this is known as dose related. Amphotericin B like kidney problem and then bone marrow and the neurological adverse effect may appear because of the use of this. Then the hypersensitivity reaction, the urticaria, the rashes may appear in case of use of antimicrobial agent. The drug resistance may develop, it may be a natural type. So negative penicillin mycobacterium, they may develop resistance towards the tetracycline naturally. Then acquired through mutation and gene transfer, as I discussed earlier, the conjugation, transduction, and transformation. Through this, there is a resistance developed. Cross resistance also is there. That it means that if microbe is resistant toward a drug of one group, that means it would be resistance to our other group also, and this is known as cross resistance. The super infection, this is a new infection on antimicrobial use, where there is alteration in the normal body microbial flora. Like in case of Candida, there is diarrhea or thirst. Staphylococcus, there may be enteritis and then UTI. Then what should be the factor which affects the choice of antimicrobial agent? Age, obviously, metabolism of chloramphenicol is an example. So chloramphenicals are poorly metabolized in case of babies, and that's why they produces baby syndrome. That is dangerous, so it's not be given in the children. Then renal and hepatic damage. Renal damage is produced by anaphylaxis acid and cephalothin, for example, and hepatic damage may be produced by paracetamol and tetracycline. Drug allergy may be produced impaired host defense mechanism. If it is there, then you have to choose among bacteriostatic and bactericidal, and bactericidal are the appropriate choice. The pregnancy tetracycline should not be given, as I discussed earlier. Why? Then the genetic defect, if it is there, the primaquine or sulfur drugs should not be given. That may produce hemolysis when there is deficiency in G6PD. Drug factor like spectrum, activity, toxicity, pharmacokinetic parameter, route, and cost also involved in the choice of drug. Narrow spectrum drug when to give, Then bactericidal, as I told, when the host defense mechanism is not proper. The toxicity, beta-lactam is given over aminoglycoside because aminoglycoside is having more of toxicity. The pharmacokinetic parameter, when you want quick action or prolonged action, that also affects the choice of the antimicrobial agents. Then the route which you want to give is oral or normal. Parenteral is usually given in severe form, so that also affects. So the cost is obvious, a very important parameter in selecting drug for the therapy. The meropenem type of drug, they are very costly, and in that case you need to justify whether if you are giving to a person who requires it or not, or who can afford it or not. Combined use of antimicrobial agent, synergism. Because of this, we give a combination therapy. Tetracycline and chlorpheniramine, erythromycin, or trimethoprim and sulfamethoxazole are given, because combining this, the efficacy or the activity is increased. Similar is for rifampicin and isoniazid given in tuberculosis. Then many times it reduces the severity of adverse effect when two drugs are combined together. It causes the adverse effect. One drug causes the adverse effect of another drug. To prevent resistance, also many times it is given, and then to broaden the spectrum of action, the combination of antimicrobial is done. So this was all about the introduction or introductory part of the chemotherapy. Here onwards, specific chemotherapeutic agent will be taken starting from beta-lactam antibiotic. Thank you so much.